I'm getting ready to go into work, you guys, but I just have to burn one off real quick and let you guys take a look at this. This is really almost unbelievable. If it wasn't for the way things have been going since Biden's been elected president, I would say this is actually unbelievable. But it's actually kind of right in line with the way things have been going, because we've come to certain conclusions here. The Biden DOJ is just, by extension, the Obama DOJ. And we know that when Obama was in office, reporters and whistleblowers were targeted like never before. So when Biden was elected, it's only a matter of time before his political enemies start getting attacked by the various tentacles of the bureaucracy. This is just how the Democrat Party operates. It just is. It's those Linsky tactics. So knowing that that's going to start, it was kind of obvious that the first big target would be Project Veritas. They hate Project Veritas. They hate them so much. And the big thing about Project Veritas is that they've been engaged in a defamation lawsuit with the New York Times. Now, the New York Times is the media tentacle of the deep state, the bureaucratic state. They work for the bureaucratic state. So a defamation lawsuit against the New York Times is a defamation lawsuit against the deep state, and you're eventually going to see the other tentacles of the deep state whip up and smack them, and that's what they've done. Now, the unbelievable aspect of this is the way it went down. It's so blatant and in your face. It's almost, I very rarely use this, but it's scary. It really is scary because of how out there they are with it. So the FBI raids the Project Veritas, various people's houses at Project Veritas. And then in every case, about an hour later, the New York Times, the only media organization to have any awareness of what was going on, was calling for comment. This is like mob tactics, okay? And that's what people aren't realizing. They're thinking that the FBI and the DOJ is out to actually accomplish something. Bring charges against somebody. And I think that's a bad assumption. I think this is all intimidation tactics. And I don't think that they really plan on anything serious coming of this, because eventually the wheels of justice will not allow it. It'll get bogged down. But these are straight intimidation tactics. They called an hour after their raid, not for comment. It was to let them know, hey, we know. We sent them. Then, a few days after the FBI raids, the New York Times publishes the private communications between James O'Keefe and his lawyers, information that they obviously got from the phones that they seized during the raids. Again, this isn't, commentators are confused. They're like, well, they really only made themselves look bad because they leaked this information. They don't care that it made them look bad. They don't care about it jeopardizing the defamation lawsuit. They're just doing straight up intimidation. And that's what they care about. Is Project Veritas intimidated? Do you understand that the New York Times has the Southern District of New York and the FBI in their pocket? Do you get it, Project Veritas? Because that's what they're saying. It's not about an eventual charge. It's not about that at all. I doubt it's even about the Biden's, because see, this is all supposedly about Biden's daughter's diary, something that Project Veritas came into possession of, decided not to publish, and nothing ever came of it. The FBI is supposedly doing these raids looking for that and accusing Veritas of having participated in stealing it. None of which is true. All of it is demonstrably false. They can prove it all. But in the meantime, it's all of these mob tactics. And that's exactly what's going on here, is mob tactics. Watch this.
So here's an interesting story. During the final days of the last election, Project Veritas, the journalism group, looked into a story about the missing diary of Ashley Biden, the president's daughter. They didn't run anything on it. So just the other day, the FBI knocks down their door looking for this, purely a political investigation, obviously. Then today, the New York Times publishes a whole bunch of privileged, confidential, secret, private, legal documents from Project Veritas. Amazing how that works. Harmeet Dillon is a famed civil rights attorney, managing partner of the Dillon Law Group. She represents James O'Keefe in this story. She joins us tonight with the very latest on it. Harmeet, thanks a lot for coming on. This, I don't know what even to say about it. Is the connection, the obvious connection, real? I mean, what is this?
Well, our client James O'Keefe's home was raided on Saturday morning by the FBI. They had a battering ram, and they threw him out in the hallway and took, in handcuffs and took his phones. Now, a lot of privileged information was on his phones, including communications with, by my count, 4 dozen different lawyers over the years.
Let me just stop this to say that the MPC defense of this behavior is Project Veritas isn't a media organization and James O'Keefe isn't a reporter. And regardless of that semantic argument, it doesn't matter. Just look at James O'Keefe as an American citizen. Just as a regular old American citizen, the behavior that's happening here is disgusting.
And coincidentally, this publication came out this afternoon from the New York Times. Now, I can't say with a certainty how the New York Times got this information, but I can say that they got it in a way that is illegal and unethical. And so we have to ask that question. And so, what we have right now is a very disturbing situation of the U.S. Attorney's Office and or the FBI tipping off the New York Times to each of the raids on Project Veritas's current and former employees last week. We know that because minutes after these raids occurred, they got calls from the New York Times, which is the only journalism outlet that knew about it. And they published this hit piece today, which is really despicable. I don't think I've ever seen this low from the New York Times before to publish people's private legal communications. And by the way, what does it prove, New York Times? All it proves is that Project Veritas is an honest and thoughtful journalistic organization that sought legal advice before making various publications. That's what Fox News does. That's what the New York Times does. And that's what every major journalism outlet does. So I don't know what gotcha they think they were doing there other than they got themselves because they criticized Project Veritas.
Sorry about that. So even here, James O'Keefe's lawyer is confused. She doesn't understand why it's happening. I bet you James O'Keefe knows, but of course he can't articulate it at all. The elephant in the room here is they're not trying to prove anything. They're just intimidating. This is the bureaucratic state showing people who have stood up against them exactly what can and will happen to them if they do. And this is not just a message to Project Veritas. It's also a message to anyone who would be speaking out against the bureaucratic state in any way, shape, or form. They will label you not a media organization, and then they will violate your First and Fourth Amendment rights. And whenever it happens, all the NPCs will just laugh and say, ha ha ha, they're not reporters. They're not real reporters. Unbelievable. Anyways, guys, like, share, sub. Talk to you later.